Are you familiar with the Pokemon Leavanny, a bug type from Generation 5? There's a good chance you aren't, and I wouldn't blame you if you aren't. Leavanny released in Gen 5 where it was completely unremarkable. But did you know that a team featuring Leavanny on it recently hit an impressive number 10 in the entire world in Gen 9 OU? Not in a lower tier, not in some other random format, in OU, among heavy hitters like Great Tusk, Goldengo, King Gambit. Leavanny is here, proving its worth, and actually setting itself apart from other bug types. Now how is that possible? Leavanny has been an atrocious Pokemon ever since it came out. Leavanny is just one of many average bug types in the Pokemon games that don't do anything. They have a quota they need to reach of middling bug types to put in the game. There are millions of them. And Leavanny is among the least remarkable. This is a bug grass type Pokemon, which is such an atrocious type combination, it's kind of insane. Leavanny is ×4 weak to flying and fire. The bug and grass type seriously do not work well together. They are so non-complementary. They're just stacking weaknesses on top of one another. They're trying to gather all the weaknesses in the game onto one Pokemon. Something kind I can say about Leavanny though is that it's a very altruistic Pokemon, a very noble Pokemon. In the Dex entry of Pokemon Black, it reads that, upon finding a small Pokemon, Leavanny weaves clothing for it from leaves using the cutters on its arms and sticky silk. That is wonderful, it's a morally upstanding thing to do, and it's a reminder that not all Pokemon are violent creatures for combat. Some Pokemon have ethics, some Pokemon have a moral compass, and they want to focus on doing good in the world, giving out clothing for free to people. If you did find yourself in a situation where Leavanny was your only combat tool, you would probably not be able to defend yourself very well because Leavanny's offensive stats are rather poor. It only has 103 attack, it's not horrendous, but it's really quite unexciting, and only 92 base speed as well. Slower than all those Pokemon with various attacks that hit you super effectively. Leavanny has the ability Swarm like many other bug types do, which is a bit hard to use on a Pokemon that's so frail. Overcoat is another option which has its uses, but is also probably not going to be the ability of choice. The best ability Leavanny has going for it is Chlorophyll. Leavanny is the only bug type with access to Chlorophyll, which is quite interesting, and if you don't know, Chlorophyll is an ability that grants double speed in the sun. There's not much reason to use Leavanny over other Chlorophyll Pokemon, of course, due to how terrible it is defensively and how little it offers offensively as well, but it is a decent ability. It's better than other bug types can hope for. But the real best thing Leavanny has going for it is access to the move Sticky Web. Just having access to this move is a big deal. It's very rare and mostly only available to bug types, and it's one of the most incredible offensive tools in competitive singles. Sticky Web is an entry hazard that makes it so on switch in, the enemy's speed will be lowered by 1 stage if they are grounded. This is a big deal because consistently outrunning the enemy makes you way more offensively threatening for the entire game. The thing is though that Leavanny has never really been a desirable sticky web setter compared to other options. There's always been Shuckle in earlier games, and Shuckle is fantastic at setting sticky web because of its ability Sturdy, allowing it to live any hit, and also has other useful moves for a lead set like Encore and Stealth Rock. There's also Ribombee, who is very fast and has Stab Moonblast and a useful fairy typing, as well as Stun Spore to get a bit more value. Smeargle is another popular sticky web setter historically. Smeargle can of course learn any move in the game, allowing it unique combinations of utility that nothing else can get. Even Slurpuff has seen some use as a sticky web setter, with its solid mono fairy typing, the ability Unburden, which doubles speed when it consumes its focus sash, and even Endeavor to bring another Pokemon low down to 1 HP after setting sticky web to get a bit more value out of it. Recently, there's also been the rise of Araquanid in Gen 9 OU, who has the solid bug water type combination, the powerful ability Water Bubble, which doubles the damage of water moves and even grants a burn immunity. With Water Bubble, you greatly threaten common ground types who also happen to be rapid spinners. And Araquanid has other tools like Endeavor and Mirror Coat, and decent bug type attacks as well. Araquanid also has a very good special defense stat. So if you're going to use a sticky web setter, why in the world would you use Leavanny over all of these mostly superior options that have further utility or are more consistent at actually setting the webs and do something else after setting webs? Leavanny probably isn't terrible. I mean, most of the time all these Pokemon want to do is just set sticky web, but why wouldn't you use something better that gets a little bit more sometimes or is just more consistent at doing that? Leavanny will do the trick, but it seems like a suboptimal choice, doesn't it? Well, believe it or not, Leavanny actually does have some stuff going for it compared to the other sticky web options in Gen 9 OU, and the player Ausma successfully built a team playing to Leavanny's strengths as a sticky web setter. This team is a very creative sticky web Sun team, and Leavanny happens to have some really awesome roll compression here that really surprised me when I saw it. This team takes advantage of Leavanny's two greatest strengths, that ability Chlorophyll and access to sticky web. Thanks to this unique combination, Leavanny can double as a speedy offensive threat in the sun and a sticky web setter, and sometimes both. And the set on this Leavanny is kind of brilliant. The coolest combo going on here is Leaf Storm with Eject Pack. Leaf Storm is of course a high power grass type attack that lowers your special attack by 2 on use. And even though Leavanny leans more in its physical attack, this move has a high enough power to do good damage, especially to Pokemon like Great Tusk, who are weak to grass and also weak on the special defense side. Eject Pack is an item that switches you out if your stat stages are lowered. So in conjunction with Leaf Storm, after lowering your special attack, this allows you to pivot out of the field once it gets consumed, but this is a really powerful one-time pivot off the back of a huge attack. So you're combining so many things here. A fast Chlorophyll threat, a hazard setter, and a temporary pivot all in one. 176 EVs in special attack gives you precisely enough to KO common Great Tusk sets. And the rest of the coverage here is also for common metagame forces. Low Kick is primarily aiming to target King Gambit, who is of course ×4 weak to fighting. And Triple Axle is a beautiful option, an Ice-type physical attack, which is able to threaten Gliscor for ×4 super effective damage, one of the most common Pokemon right now. The multi-hit effect also makes this pretty nice against Dragonite, who is weak to ice but is protected by multi-scale. But because it's multi-hit, you will break the multi-scale on the first hit and then KO them with the subsequent hits. Leavanny also happens to outrun some important stuff with Chlorophyll, most notably a +1 Roaring Moon. Even after a Dragon Dance boost, Chlorophyll Leavanny is a bit faster. You can hit them with the big Triple Axle or Low Kick. Triple Axle conveniently hits both Roaring Moon in its base form and after they Terra Flying, so that's very useful. And you also outrun Kyurem after a Dragon Dance. You can hit them with Low Kick, which actually does good damage because they're quite heavy and this scales based on weight. I think this is brilliant, because Sticky Web is not something you'd think fits on a Sun team. It's not common to stack those things together, but right here, Leavanny is making that concept work. It's justifying the existence of such a thing, because it has Chlorophyll and Sticky Web. And what's nice about this is that this Leavanny probably gets value all the time. It probably never feels like dead weight, because it's very likely that this will at least set Sticky Web once, and that's often enough. That's the purpose of 90% of Sticky Web setters, is to just set the Sticky Web and faint. But on top of that, Leavanny has this Leaf Storm pivot with Eject Pack. I mean, that's a perfect follow-up if you happen to survive the turn. It's something that fits perfectly with the pace of a Sun team, which is very aggressive and aiming to end the game quickly with powerful threats. And even if this hits a grass resist and doesn't do much damage, you're pivoting into like Walking Wake or something and you're getting the ball rolling and you have Sticky Web up. And these last two slots, the Low Kick and Triple Axle, that's just icing on the cake. That's just gravy, because really just setting the Sticky Web and getting that big pivot plus the huge damage is all you need, really. The Terra type of choice here is Ghost, because it can block Rapid Spin, which might win you a game, securing your Sticky Web, and it can also save you against a Dragonite Extreme Speed, which is very nice. But Leavanny is not the only novel choice on this team. Ausma's also running this Ceruledge, not a very commonly seen Pokemon anymore. It's UUBL ranked, and most don't think highly of Ceruledge. But here it works very well because it is benefiting greatly from Leavanny's Sticky Web. Ceruledge is a very slow Pokemon, it's one of its greatest downfalls, but thanks to Sticky Web, Ceruledge is able to actually outrun quite a lot. It benefits from the sun with its Bitter Blade getting boosted in its power, and Ceruledge actually has access to Solar Blade, which I didn't realize, to be honest. You wouldn't think to use this, it doesn't seem like a good Sun synergy Pokemon, but on Sticky Webs Sun, isn't this the perfect guy? I mean, you have the classic Fire-Grass combo, and this helps you out against so many common Pokemon that would usually shut you down completely, like Alomomola, Dondozo, even Hisuian Samurott, who resists Fire Ghost, is getting destroyed by Solar Blade and the Sticky Web. Terra Grass on this is the perfect option too. Defensively and offensively, you get extra stab damage on the Solar Blade, and you get water resistance, ground resistance. You also get resistance to Thunderclap from Raging Bolt. You're neutral now to Sucker Punch. It's a perfect Terra type on this. But the creativity doesn't end there. Even this Roaring Moon set is quite unique. Roaring Moon, obviously a staple of Sun teams and common in general, but this set is cool. It's running Terra Blast Fairy alongside Knockoff as the offensive coverage. I mean, Fairy Dark do work well together. Fairy is going to hit enemy Dark and Fighting types, which resist your Knockoff. So that's complementary in that sense, but also becoming a Fairy type is incredibly advantageous for Roaring Moon for setup opportunities, as you now are immune to Dragon, previous weakness. You also resist Fighting and Bug, which were previous weaknesses, and you're neutral to Fairy. Covert Cloak is a good choice on Roaring Moon, because it makes you immune to Scald Burn. This allows Roaring Moon to actually switch in against Alomomola if it wants and not worry about getting Scald Burn. You can even set up in the face of Alomomola and be fine. There's also been a rise of Pecharunt recently, and Pecharunt has that pesky Malignant Chain ability which spreads poison. Toxic poison, in fact. So Covert Cloak protects you from that, and it also has added benefits against maybe the occasional Garganical Salt Cure. Perhaps a Nuzzle from whatever gets that. I think Hatterene gets that. If it wants to try and cripple you after Terra Fairying, it won't be able to. Covert Cloak has many applications, but mainly Scald Burn immunity is the big one, allowing you to set up in the face of those Pokemon that use that as their physical answer. Why don't we take a look at the team in action? Here it is up against a balanced team, a pretty interesting balanced team with Keldeo on it. The solid defensive core of Toxapex and Blissey, but also some powerful threats in Kingambit and Dragonite. Let's see how you navigate this one. Lead off with the Ninetales, of course, to get the Sun out there, and just straight to Leavanny, is it? This is another benefit of Leavanny, is that it has that ground resistance, allowing it a nice entry point here. It's actually good damage from Low Kick in the face of Iron Treads. I'm impressed by that. And Leaf Storm was such a good move to cover the Terra Ghost there. That was such a good move that was just unfortunately dodged by Iron Treads. Bailed out there, got rid of the webs. That's damn lucky. But now Tusker is in. We're spinning ourselves. We're getting rid of the rocks. Hazards are reset. But the enemy committed to Terra, and we haven't yet, have we? So that's a great sign. Headlong Rush is going to decimate Toxapex, who cannot defensively Terra, because it's already been spent. You've already wasted it. Ninetales back in the face of Keldeo. That's a bold move, but you are going to survive. You are going to survive. Can Leavanny come in again? Yes, it can. Because Leavanny actually switches into Keldeo so nicely, doesn't it? Because you resist water and fighting. That's unreal. You're going to knock off. Must have been an older version of the team when Knockoff was being tested. The final version has the set I showed you earlier. And perhaps this is the reason why... My goodness, you're still outrunning Dragonite. You're still outrunning Dragonite. I was going to say you wish you had Triple Axle. Apparently you don't even need it. Apparently Leavanny is about to sweep because, of course, right here is a Leaf Storm incoming. And then you have Low Kick, which hits literally all three of the remaining Pokemon for lethal force. I guess Kingambit could Sucker Punch you, but we all know that Ausma is a gamer and would Sticky Web 3 times and then Low Kick the 4th time to play around Sucker Punch. We all know that would have happened. We don't have to watch it. That was an unbelievable showing from Leavanny against a pretty good team here. Even with luck on your side, you couldn't beat Leavanny. Even with expertly dodged Leaf Storm, you couldn't do it. But that had to have been a fluke. There's no way Leavanny can win against Dondozo, Gliscor, Weavile balance. This is unwinnable. This is not winnable. Okay, this can't be done. Ninetales lead yet again. That's going to be the most standard lead on this team, I imagine. As it's a Sun team that wants to create Sun. What a novel concept. We're going to take a knockoff from the Weavile to... Honestly, I think that's a good trade. Even though you've lost your Heat Rock, I think that was an excellent trade. And Ceruledge has hit the scene in the face of this Cinderace. A pretty good switch in there, because it's probably going Pyro Ball or U-turn. You're going to activate Weak Arm. And you've engineered a Leavanny entry point right here. Leaf Storm to pivot out of there into Great Tusk in response to the incoming hazards. It was a toxic instead of hazards, but that's almost good for you because you now, instead of making hazards, you're forcing out this Gliscor with a photosynthesis boosted Ice Spinner. The double to Ceruledge was outstanding. Solar Blade comes down against the Dondozo, doing, to be honest, not as much as I expected. Only 40%, but still good. And in fact, Sun is actually letting you live Wave Crash. You've prompted a rest from Dondozo, which is good news for the aggressive Ausma team that wants free turns. Rest gives the opponent free turns, and then Sun is now up again as Ninetales got a free entry. And we've prompted a random Terror Dragon from Iron Crown and also completely destroyed it with its switch into Roaring Moon on the Psychic Noise. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You're gonna knock off again for just through the roof damage against Gliscor here. Would you dare Dragon Dance on the Protect turn? Yes, you would, Ausma. Yes, you would do it. And you would succeed at it as well. Terra Fairy, we're committing to a potential sweep here, but Dondozo will be able to wall this, of course, with Unaware. But while it's snoozing and losing, it's got its leftovers knocked off, and it's a free Leavanny entry point. Do you realize how much you've messed up? Gainsworth. Do you realize that you've... And the opponent has no idea that this Leavanny has triple axle on it. They have no clue. They have no clue that Leavanny has the Hydrapple response. My goodness. And that prompts an immediate forfeiture, because of course it does. Because in the face of Leavanny's excellence, what can you do but forfeit? It's a wonderful team, isn't it? It's one of the most creative Sun teams I've seen in all of Gen 9. A pretty restrictive archetype, wouldn't you say? It kind of makes itself. You just throw on all the Photosynthesis Paradox Pokemon and call it a day, with either a Ninetales or a Torkoal. But this has got Leavanny and Ceruledge with an interesting Sticky Webs Sun. I think it's actually really impressed me here, with Leavanny getting consistent value in all of these replays I've seen. Even if it's just setting Sticky Web once, that is good enough to enable Ceruledge and Walking Wake and all these powerful threats, but it's often doing more. It's often doing much more. It's often inviting in these things that are weak to low kick and triple axle. It is pivoting. It is keeping up aggression, and it's really... What else I've noticed is that this comes in on Great Tusk and Iron Treads and kind of destroys them 1v1. I was so impressed by the low kick damage against Iron Treads. I guess that's a heavy elephant, so that's good damage. Incredible showing from Leavanny, and one of the coolest teams yet. What did you think, folks? Are you fond of this new Leavanny strategy? Do you think it's genius or do you think it's stupid? Let me know down below in the comments, and I believe Ausma, the creator of the team, also has a YouTube channel if you're interested in checking that out. Thank you, folks, and I'll catch you later.